This video follows figure 5.12 and will be a demonstration of the probabilities of seeing any number of emergencies, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0 out of any 5 visits to an emergency room, when the probability that any individual visit will be an emergency is 0.646. Now, out of any 5 visits, we may see 5 emergencies, we may see 4, we may see 3, we may see 2, we may see 1, we may see 0. And there are probabilities associated with each one of these different numbers of emergencies. In order to find those probabilities, we're going to use the formulas given on page 157 as 5.7, on 154 as 5.6, and finally on 157 as 5.8. The first thing we're going to do is to find the number of different ways in which we could see 5 emergencies or 4 emergencies and so on out of 5 visits to the emergency room clinic. And according to the formula on page 157, 5.7, we can find these number of different ways or combinations. There are 2 values we need to find to calculate the number of different ways. The first is n factorial, which is the numerator of the formula in 5.7. So here I'm going to put n factorial, which will be the numerator, and that will be equal to FACT, and in this case n is 5. That is, it is the number of persons coming to the emergency room at any given time. So I'll click on the 5 and fix that with an F4. So the numerator for each one of these possible results, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0 emergencies out of 5 visits, is always 120. Now the denominator will change for each of these, and the denominator is given in formula 5.7 as x factorial times the value n minus x factorial. So that will be x factorial times n minus x factorial as a label. Now for x equal 5, this will be equal to fact of 5 times fact of 5 again, fixed with an F4, minus A2 again. So that when I hit enter, we see that the denominator for 5 emergencies out of 5 visits is exactly the same as the numerator. But as I drag this down, we see that these numbers change: 24, 12, 12, 24, and 120. So here are the number of ways I can see any one of this set of 0 through 5 emergencies out of 5 visits. This is equal to n factorial divided by the denominator of x factorial times the quantity n minus x factorial. And it turns out that there is only one way that we can see 5 emergencies out of 5 visits. On the other hand, as I drag this down, we see that there are 5 different ways that we may see 4 emergencies out of 5 visits, 10 ways for 3, 10 ways for 2, 5 ways for 1, and 1 way for no emergencies at all. And this would be that each person coming was not an emergency. Now, in order to get the probabilities, we will use the formula on page 154, 5.6, and this will be the probability of seeing any one of these combinations of emergencies in only one way. So this is the probability I star, that is one way. And following the equation in 5.6, that will be for 5 emergencies equal to the probability of seeing an emergency at all, fixed with an F4, raised to the power of the number of emergencies that we will see, times 1 minus the probability of seeing an emergency, which is the probability that it is not an emergency, again fixed with an F4, raised to the power of the number of total visits minus the number that we see in this case. And when I hit enter, I see that that probability is 0.1125, but in order to make it essentially equivalent to formula 5.12, I will reduce the number of decimal places and it becomes 0.113. Now as I drag this down, I see the probability associated with 4 emergencies, 3 emergencies, 2 emergencies, 1 emergency, and 0 emergencies in only one way. That is, there is only one way we can get 5 emergencies, but there are 4 ways we can get 4 emergencies out of 5, and for any one of those ways, the probability is 0.062. Now to find the total probability of seeing 5 emergencies, 4 emergencies, and so on, we must multiply the number of ways we can see the emergency times the probabilities. So this will be equal to this value in D2 times the value in E2. And again, I'll reduce the number of decimal places. And when I click this all the way down, we see the probability for 5 emergencies out of 5 visitors, 4 emergencies, 3 emergencies, 2 emergencies, 1 emergency, or 0 emergencies.